Ladies and gentlemen, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've stood up on this floor in 15 years to oppose a piece of legislation. But that's how strongly I feel about this particular bill and the implications it has for the waters of our state and for all Tennesseans. There's one question in particular we need to ask as we begin, and I appreciate this time that the Speaker has allowed me this morning. And that question is this: why is this bill here? Why was it even filed in the first place? The reason, ladies and gentlemen, is on your desk and in my hand. It's a lawsuit. And not only because of the 13 violations of national code that are listed in this lawsuit, but TDEC recently issued 3 mining-related permits that now require monitoring of selenium, which have been appealed to the Water Quality Control Board. These permits are on hold because of the appeals by National Coal. National Coal has been sued because of 13 violations of discharging selenium, a toxic pollutant, into the waters of Tennessee and the United States. National Coal wants a new water quality standard for selenium so it can get rid of the first mining permits TDEC has ever issued which have selenium standards. So here we are today. National Coal and the Tennessee Mining Association are here with a bill to increase toxic selenium levels. They want to legislatively mandate an increase in selenium levels, and I hope you'll listen to this, something we have never done before in this state, something we have never done before with any toxic substance. Never. This legislation has been pushed so hard by the coal company because they can use this legislative mandate to challenge the current standard and cause confusion in the courts. Ladies and gentlemen, delay is the key word. This delay will allow the mining company to continue to mine and discharge dangerous levels of selenium as they're currently doing. The longer they delay, the more they can poison the water. And they're trying to use state government to accomplish that purpose. Here's how it works. The court looks at our current standard for selenium, and then they look at this legislative mandate that we may pass, which is about 13 times as much selenium in the water as is now allowed by the Water Quality Board's current standard for fish and aquatic life. 13 times greater than the EPA recommended water quality criteria for the protection of aquatic life in freshwater. And if we approve, and I hope you'll pay attention to this, if we approve the level of selenium in this bill, which has not, and the EPA letter's on your desk, you don't have to take my word for it, read the EPA letter. This bill is based on a bogus standard that has not been adopted or recommended or even proposed as a rule by EPA. Consequently, the judicial issues may become confused, and delay results in more selenium poisoning. Now, that's why the bill's here. That's exactly why the bill's here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not in the best interest of Tennesseans. It is not for the public good. It's for the benefit of a coal company. It's polluting our waters. 13 violations. And here's why we should oppose it. I'm going to give you 4 reasons. I hope you'll listen to them, and then I'll sit down. The bill as amended would take our state to a selenium level that, according to the EPA, not me, the EPA, is not an adopted or recommended standard or even a proposed rule. And that EPA is still working on a selenium standard based on analysis of fish tissue to set a selenium level which protects against the chronic effects of selenium as it builds up in fish and other aquatic life. Again, the EPA letter is on your desk. It looks like this. Please take a look at it. This whole bill is based on a draft that was never recommended, never adopted, never proposed rule by the EPA. Just read the letter. EPA goes on to say, we're taking a thorough and cautious approach in the development of revisions to the current criteria, since the science of aquatic life and wildlife toxicity related to this pollutant is complex. Like the sponsor said, he's not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. Most of you aren't scientists. But we're going to mandate a scientific level that we don't know anything about? And they go on to say, newly collected data continues to show that the adverse effects of selenium can extend to many species found in the environment. So my question to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. What's the rush? Why do we have to push this bill through? Why push this legislation so hard? The coal company is being sued for 13 violations of our current selenium level, and raising the selenium level must benefit them. It doesn't benefit the public. Number two, if we legislatively mandate the 7.9 level, which has never been adopted, recommended, or even proposed by the EPA, then we may poison, your hunters and fishermen are going to love this one, we may poison 85% of the fish and aquatic birds in the streams which have selenium from coal mining or from coal ash. Just yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, Dr. Dennis Limley, speaking to our committee in an official capacity from the U.S. Forest Service, he didn't get official word to come until he was stepping on the airplane and they gave him permission to come. The statement is on your desk. Please look at the conclusion of this statement. I wouldn't ask you to read the whole thing, but please read Dr. Limley's conclusion. He said yesterday, in an official capacity from the U.S. Forest Service, technical analysis reveals that the proposed 7.9 microgram value would allow up to 85% of fish and aquatic birds to be poisoned. He goes on to say, it is my professional opinion that a fish tissue standard for selenium should not exceed 5.0 parts per million. Ladies and gentlemen, elevated levels of selenium not only damage fish, but also birds and the people who consume contaminated fish. Number three, if you will look at EPA's hazard summary, and you may or may not have a copy of this article from The Nation, but I'm just going to read from the EPA's hazard summary. I'll be glad to furnish a copy if you don't have a copy of this. Acute human exposure to selenium compounds via the oral route has resulted in pulmonary edema, lesions of the lung, cardiovascular effects such as tachycardia, gastrointestinal effects including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, effects on the liver, and neurological effects such as aches, irritability, chills, and tremors. Selenium's impact on animals can also be severe. Now, I've got a question for you. Why in the world would we even think about possibly jeopardizing the health of our citizens?